Ruud Van Nistelrooy kicked things off for Leicester City with a win against West Ham. But how did he do it, and how did they dominate West Ham in certain phases of the game, although conceding 31 shots against them, coming to a 3-1 victory? That's what we're going to discover in this video. Here is the team that Van Nistelrooy put out for the first game. Hermansen in goal, Connor Cody and Yannick Vestergaard at the back, with Wout Faes dropping to the bench, Christensen and Justin as the fullbacks, Ndidi and Soumare making that double pivot in the middle of the pitch. Buonanotte was basically playing as the 10, which it doesn't have on screen here. El Khanous and McAteer as the wingers, with Vardy as the number 9. One key figure that we saw instantly established by Ruud Van Nistelrooy in this Leicester team was having El Khanous come inside from that left wing to form that box midfield, Christensen providing the width and allowing Buonanotte and El Khanous to have that pocket of zone 14 to themselves at the top of the box and be the creative force for this Leicester side. And the first goal came exactly from this. Christensen puts it round the corner to El Khanous, who has drifted infield, as you can see with that arrow there, before he then plays the ball through to Jamie Vardy in behind, who goes in on goal and finishes to put Leicester 1-0 up minutes into the game. And again for this goal, we saw the exact same thing with the two of the pocket players, Buonanotte and El Khanous, linking up on the same side of the pitch, also with McAteer running in behind, and I think those three could be really fun with their connectivity that they can have this season. As you can see, for this goal that it led to, of McAteer slotting it across for El Khanous to slide it into the goal to make it 2-0 against West Ham. So, what was the imprint put on the game by Van Nistelrooy? Let's have a little look on the tactics board. On screen, we have the Leicester team from yesterday and how Ruud Van Nistelrooy set up in his first game as Leicester City manager. And as I've kind of just said in the intro of this video, I'm a huge fan of this appointment. I really think this could work, but I do think it's going to need time for all the connections to come together, especially with the out-of-possession system. So let's start on that. In terms of the out-of-possession, what we saw a lot at PSV, and even in the few games at Manchester United, is sort of this 4-2-4 out-of-possession, where you have the two strikers, or the 10 and the striker, really looking to compact that middle of the pitch, really sort of tight. Then what you do have is these wingers are really important, because in this system for Leicester, or for Ruud Van Nistelrooy, you're looking to go from a 4-2-4 into a 4-4-2. It's that sort of hybrid system where these wingers ultimately become either the 4-4-2 to go narrow and deeper, or they push high into this space to make it sort of that 4-4-2, that 4-2-4, and really tighten these gaps here in central areas and force teams on the outside of them. So the idea is those wingers have to be very well drilled in when to drop off a little bit deeper, when to sort of apply pressure on the ball. And I think yesterday, where there was a little bit of an issue for Leicester, and I think this is mainly teething issues in terms of the timing, because I'm going to quickly bring up a few stats. Before this game, Leicester were conceding 18.2 shots per game. That is the same as Brentford, and that is the worst in the Premier League. 18.2 shots per 90. And then you've got Southampton in third with 18.1. But joint top, Brentford and Leicester. The thing with this is, and then yesterday they conceded 31 shots against West Ham. So that issue hasn't gone away. And I don't expect it to. One, with the personnel of the back line is still going to need some tweaking. We saw Vestergaard go off for Faes, who I do think will come quite quickly back into this team. Purely, I think this is more of a leadership thing with Cody and Vestergaard to begin with, just to start off the reign of Van Nistelrooy. But I do think you need an aggressor like Wout Faes in that back line. I think the two in here did fairly well. I think Soumare was very good. He loves a dangerous challenge, so that is obviously on the cards. Like, it was a really poor challenge for his yellow card. He also, I remember he could have been sent off against Chelsea as well. But having those double protectors in here, it does sort of shore things up in terms of their mobility to jump in all three directions, and that goes for both players on both sides, so Ndidi and Soumare. And that also helps once these wingers become accustomed to their timings at dropping and forming the 4-4-2, and then expanding and becoming that 4-2-4. I think that in terms of personnel going forwards, I think once you add a bit more of an aggressor in here, that's when you can sort of lose this double protection. And somebody like Skip, I think, could be really big in this team next to Soumare or Ndidi, purely because he offers a little bit more on the ball than both of these players. but he's still got enough of an engine to work in that 4-2-4 in terms of when they have to jump out and sort of help that pressure in the centre of the pitch. So whereas Winks is better on the ball, but I don't think he quite gives that same tenacity that someone like Oliver Skipp can give you. So I think Skipp's going to be an interesting one to watch out for if they don't address it in the transfer market in January. But in terms of out of possession, I do think it's going to be a teething issue. I think that it's something we need to watch out for with Leicester. And I think in a few weeks, we can come back and we can assess how they're looking on the side of out of possession. But what I do really want to talk about today is their in possession ideas, because I do think that Buonanotte, El Canouse is somebody I was tracking long before Leicester at Genk. And I just think that the way that I loved this sort of the freedom that they can have to interchange and create this box midfield that we spoke about at the beginning, with El Canouse coming inside and essentially making this box like this. I love the fact that you can make that sort of happen, because, and I think this is the wrong way round, I've just realised, because it would be El Canouse coming inside, Christensen providing that width here. So you'd have the two width providers and then the box in midfield, such as this. And then you'd have quite a tight-knit backline because you don't want Vestergaard dropping too far out here. Christensen has a big job here because, like I said, with Vestergaard, until this is someone like Face, who can be a little bit more aggressive and cover a little bit more ground, Vestergaard's mobility is a bit of an issue. So Christensen has to get back and cover a lot of ground in those sort of areas. But when he provides that width and El Canouse can come inside, what you have here with these two players is ridiculous creativity. And I think having El Canouse is that free player who can he can come back out here and he can double up with Christensen. He can have Christensen overlap for him. He could even have Christensen underlap for him to create those 1v1 chances out wide. He can drop into these pockets to create. And as we saw for his goal, he can attack the box and he can arrive in and around the box to get on the end of it and score goals. He got a goal and an assist, and I'm just a massive fan of his. I think he has a really good creative tool set. I think he's physically very good as well. He can get involved in duels on both ends of the pitch. And I think when he's in these central areas, if he can win that ball back quickly in these sort of areas, then he can also attack very quickly and directly. Played a lovely ball for Vardy for that first goal to get things started. And I think that that's just the fun part of this team, I think, is this two in here and how you can sort of platform those two to perform together. I think everything else around it could come together, and I think it's going to take time because I think, like Van Nistelrooy is saying, I think he's going to have to figure other things out across the pitch in terms of his best personnel to platform these two in the best possible way. But I think Christensen's very important for this as well. And I do think that these two in the middle of the pitch is where your points are going to be earned, like they were yesterday. A game that Leicester, for their first game in charge for Van Nistelrooy, they wasn't at the absolute best that they could have been, but they got things done, and there were still slight patterns emerging in terms of, again, late arrivals from Christensen into this space as El Canouse dropped inside, and it was creating big chances for Christensen to arrive in this space here. And those little patterns of play that we're already seeing after his first game in charge, I think with time and with the correct platforming, these two are going to earn you your points this season. So if you want a chance of staying up, I think the main things to take from this video are how can you platform these two to the absolute best ability and get them creating and allow them that freedom on the pitch, which I think is something Van Nistelrooy is going to do really, really well. And then secondly, that out of possession sort of style is to just bring those shots per game down. And that's going to take time because I think Van Nistelrooy is going to stick with that sort of 4-2-4, 4-4-2 hybrid approach and just try to sort of gel it into his team and his players. A lot of these players played under Maresca last season. They're used to going man-to-man in many phases of the game. So I don't think it will be an issue. I just think it's going to be a lot of sort of teaching for these wingers, not Christensen, but a lot to do with the timings. I think once those timings are down, I think we'll see those shot numbers go down significantly as well. Again, personnel is a massive thing. So I think that they'll massively retreat and they'll be one of the best defensive teams in the league. Absolutely not. But I think you can get away from those 18 shots per game numbers and start drilling them down slightly, which will then give them a bigger chance of winning those games when these special players do connect, combine, and score goals for the team. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, as I'm trying to make content on all different teams now. So I really need all the support I can get, because a lot of my Chelsea content does really, really well. And then I go to do videos on other teams, which I want to do because I enjoy analysing all sorts of teams. I do it for a job anyway, where I analyse all sorts of teams for different people and for when I do writing articles and stuff for data analysis. So I want to bring it to YouTube, but to do that, I need the support on the videos. So please do drop a like. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Any ideas that you want me to cover, please do drop it in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.